I gave my family $227,000 over 15 years. When I needed $5,000 to not be homeless, they all said no. Now they want money again. Posted to r/true off my chest. My phone rang last Tuesday evening. I was sitting on the couch with my fiancé, watching some cooking competition show, finally relaxed after a long day. I saw my mother's name flash across the screen and felt that familiar knot form in my stomach, the one that appears whenever family calls now. Hello. Hi, sweetheart. How are you? I haven't heard from you in so long. This was a lie. She'd texted me 2 weeks ago asking if I could look into getting my nephew into a summer coding camp. I hadn't responded. After some small talk about the weather and her book club, she got to the point. She always gets to the point eventually. Listen, I'm calling because your brother is in a tough spot. You know how the market is right now, and his mortgage payment went up after the rate adjusted. He's really struggling, and I thought, well, you're doing so well now and family helps family, right? I laughed. I actually laughed out loud, which I could tell caught her off guard because there was silence on the other end. What's funny? She asked. Nothing, Mom. Just, family helps family. That's what you said. Well, yes. That's what we've always believed. I looked at my fiancé, who had paused the TV and was watching me with those knowing eyes. She'd heard this tone from me before. She squeezed my hand. Mom, I'm going to have to call you back. I hung up before she could respond. Because here's the thing. 1 year ago, when I needed help, when I was drowning and terrified and had nowhere to turn, that same family told me to figure it out myself. And now I need to tell you the whole story. The backstory. 15 years of being the family ATM. I'm 38 years old. I've worked in tech since I graduated college at 22. Good job, good salary, and by choice, no kids. My fiancé and I made that decision together early on. We wanted freedom, travel, the ability to live our lives on our own terms. What that also meant was that I had disposable income. More than my siblings. More than my parents, who had worked blue-collar jobs their whole lives and never quite managed to save enough for retirement. So I helped. At first, it felt good. Natural, even. I was successful, and they were struggling. Why wouldn't I share? It started small. My dad's car broke down, and he needed $3,000 for repairs. My mom needed dental work her insurance wouldn't cover. $500. These felt reasonable. These felt like what family does. But then it grew. When I was 25, my parents were about to lose their house. They'd made some bad financial decisions, taken out a second mortgage they couldn't afford, and foreclosure was looming. They came to me crying, embarrassed, desperate. I paid off their mortgage. All of it. $80,000. I remember my mother hugging me, sobbing, telling me I'd saved their lives. I remember my father shaking my hand and saying he'd never forget what I'd done. I remember feeling like a hero. 3 years later, my brother wanted to go back to college. He'd dropped out at 20, worked odd jobs for a few years, and finally decided he wanted to get his degree in business. He came to me with a proposal. He'd pay me back once he graduated and got a good job. I paid for his entire education. Tuition, books, living expenses while he focused on school. $60,000 over 4 years. He graduated with honors. Got a job at a consulting firm. The payback never came. Every time I gently mentioned it, there was an excuse. He was just getting started. He had student loans from his first attempt at college. He was saving for a house. Eventually, I stopped asking. The debt quietly became a gift I never agreed to give. When I was 33, my sister got engaged. Her fiancé came from money, but apparently not enough money to pay for the wedding my sister wanted. She came to me with magazine clippings and Pinterest boards and tears in her eyes. I've dreamed of this my whole life. Please. You're my big brother. You're supposed to make my dreams come true. I paid for her wedding. Venue, catering, photographer, flowers, dress. $25,000. I wasn't even in the wedding party. Her fiancé's brothers took those spots. Then there were the emergencies. My mother's car needed replacing. I bought her a new one. My brother's AC unit died in July. I covered it. My sister wanted to take her kids to Disney but couldn't afford it. I sponsored the trip. My father had a health scare and needed tests insurance wouldn't cover. I paid. 15 years. I was the family ATM. I added it up once, about 2 years ago, just out of morbid curiosity. The number was over $200,000. I told my then girlfriend, now fiancée, and she was horrified. Not at the money itself, but at the pattern. At how one-sided it was. At how they'd never even said thank you, not really. It was always, we knew you'd help, or, you're the successful one, it's not like you'll miss it. She started pointing out things I'd been too close to see. How I was never invited to family dinners unless someone needed something. How they never asked about my life, my job, my relationships, just my bank account. How they'd stopped treating me like family somewhere along the way and started treating me like a resource. But I didn't listen. Not really. Because family is family, right? That's what I believed. Until last year. Update 1. The fall. In March of last year, I lost my job. Tech layoffs. You've probably read about them. Thousands of companies cutting staff, whole departments eliminated overnight. I'd been at my company for 8 years, worked my way up to a senior position, thought I was secure. I was wrong. The severance was decent, 4 months of salary, but I'd made a critical mistake. I'd never saved properly for myself because I'd spent years giving my savings to family. I had maybe 2 months of expenses in my emergency fund. Everything else had gone to mortgages and weddings and tuition and emergencies that were never really emergencies. At first, I was confident. I had a great resume, solid experience, good references. I'd find something quickly. But the market was terrible. Every job posting had hundreds of applicants. Companies were freezing hiring. Interviews led nowhere. Weeks turned into months. By July, my severance had run out. By August, I'd burned through my savings. By September, I was looking at my rent coming due with nothing in my account to cover it. For the first time in my life, I needed help. Update 2. The rejection. I called my parents first. I'd never asked them for money, not once in my entire adult life. I'd only ever given. So this was humbling, terrifying. But I thought, surely, after everything I'd done, they would help. Mom, Dad, I need to ask you something, and it's hard for me to ask. I explained the situation. Laid it all out, job loss, depleted savings, rent due, no income. I asked if they could loan me $5,000. Just enough to cover rent for 2 months while I kept job hunting. I'd pay them back as soon as I was working again. There was a long pause. Honey, we're on a fixed income now, my mother said. We just don't have that kind of money to spare. They were living in the house I paid for. The house I saved from foreclosure. The house that had no mortgage because of me. We have our own bills, my father added. You understand. I understood. I called my brother next. He'd been at his consulting firm for years now. Making 6 figures. Had a nice house in the suburbs, 2 cars, took vacations to Europe. Surely he could help his brother who'd put him through college. Man, I feel for you, I really do, he said. But I have my own family to think about now. The kids are expensive. Sarah wants to renovate the kitchen. I just can't take on anyone else's financial problems right now. He couldn't spare anything. Not a dollar. Not from the $60,000 education I'd funded. Not from the career I'd made possible. Finally, I called my sister. Oh, that's awful, she said, sounding distracted. I could hear her kids in the background, the kids I'd sent to Disney. I wish I could help, but we're still paying off the wedding. The wedding I paid for. The wedding that was 2 years ago. The wedding that cost me $25,000 and her nothing. You're smart, she said. You'll figure something out. You always do. And that was it. Not one family member helped. Not one offered even a fraction of what I'd given them. Not one acknowledged the years I'd spent bailing them out. But here's what hurt even more than the rejection. They didn't even check on me afterward. Not one phone call asking if I was okay. Not one text to see if I'd found a job, if I'd made rent, if I was eating. I could have been on the street and they wouldn't have known. Or cared. Update 3. The betrayal and the light. I nearly lost my apartment. My landlord gave me a grace period because I'd been a perfect tenant for years, but that could only last so long. I started selling things. My watch, my gaming system, anything worth money. I applied for every job I could find, including ones way below my experience level. I couldn't sleep. I lost 15 pounds because I was eating 1 meal a day to stretch my grocery budget. And then my girlfriend, now my fiancée, stepped in. She'd only been in my life for 8 months at that point. We'd met at a friend's party, hit it off instantly, fell hard and fast into something real. She didn't have a lot of money, she worked as a teacher, for God's sake, but she had savings she'd been building for years. I'm covering your rent until you're back on your feet, she said. I refused. We fought about it. She won. She paid my rent for 3 months. September, October, November. She covered my groceries sometimes too, slipping bills into my wallet when I wasn't looking. She held me on the nights when I felt like a failure, when I couldn't understand what I'd done wrong. And here's the thing that still makes me emotional when I think about it. Her family offered to help too. Her parents. Her brother. Her aunt. People who had known me for 8 months. People I'd never given a cent to. People who owed me nothing. Her father pulled me aside at a Sunday dinner and pressed a check into my hand. "You're important to my daughter," he said. "That makes you family. And family helps family." I cried in his garage. The first time I'd cried in years. My girlfriend's family offered me money. They'd known me for 8 months. My own parents, who I'd given $80,000 to, said they couldn't afford it. My own brother, who I'd given $60,000 to, said he had his own problems. My own sister, who I'd given $25,000 to, said I'd figure it out. That's when something shifted inside me. Something fundamental. The part of me that had always made excuses for them, that had always believed blood meant something, that had always thought they'd come through when it really mattered, that part died. And something new took its place. Something clear-eyed and free. Update 4. The comeback. In December, I got a job offer. Not just any job, a better one. Senior director level at a company I'd admired for years. Better salary than I'd ever made. Better benefits. Better everything. The universe has a sense of humor, I guess. By February, I'd paid back every cent my fiancée had spent on me, over her protests, and repaid her father's check too. I proposed to her in March with a ring I paid for in cash, and she said yes through tears and laughter. Within a year, I'm making more money than ever. My fiancée and I bought a house together. We're planning a small wedding, her choice, not mine, and talking about getting a dog. Life is good. Life is finally, genuinely good. And here's where the story takes a turn. Update 5. The audacity. My family started calling again. It started with my mother. Casual at first, just checking in, "We miss you," even though she'd gone 9 months without checking if I was alive during the worst period of my life. Then the requests started trickling in. My brother needs mortgage help, as I mentioned. Apparently, the rate adjustment hit him hard and he's worried about losing the house. The house he bought while I was nearly homeless. The house he was saving for while refusing to help me. He needs $15,000. My sister wants me to pay for her son's private school tuition. He's so smart, and the public schools here just aren't good enough for him. You don't have kids, so you don't understand how important this is. It's only $18,000 a year. Only. My parents want a vacation. An Alaskan cruise, they deserve, after all their years of hard work. They've earned it, my mother says. They're not getting any younger. It would mean so much to them. $8,000 for the package they want. They all act like nothing happened. Like last year didn't exist. Like they weren't watching me drown while holding life preservers they refused to throw. Last week, my mother came to visit, and we sat on my new patio drinking iced tea. She admired the house, admired the garden my fiancé has been working on, admired everything. "You've done so well for yourself," she said. "We're so proud of you." As if they had anything to do with it. As if they hadn't abandoned me when I needed them. Then she made her pitch for my brother again. The mortgage. The family. The desperation. "Family helps family," she said. "You've always been so generous. That's who you are." I set my glass down carefully. "Mom, where was that energy last year?" She blinked. "What do you mean?" "When I called you asking for help. When I needed $5,000 to not be homeless. Where was family helps family then?" She waved her hand dismissively. "That was different. You had options. You were always going to be fine. You're the successful one. I wasn't fine. I almost lost my apartment. I had to sell my things to buy food. My girlfriend's family, people who barely knew me, had to save me because my own family wouldn't." She pretended not to understand. "I don't remember it being that serious." That's when I knew it wasn't just selfishness, it was willful blindness. She'd rewritten history to protect herself from the truth of what they'd done. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I didn't throw her out of my house. I just said, "I can't help you, Mom. Or anyone else in the family. I'm sorry." The resolution, learning to say no. The fallout was immediate. My mother called my brother, who called me raging. How could I do this? How could I let family suffer? How could I be so selfish after everything they'd done for me? Everything they'd done for me. I almost laughed again. My sister texted me a long message about how disappointing I was. How she'd always defended me to people who said I was cold and distant. How she didn't recognize me anymore. I didn't recognize myself anymore either. But in a good way. I took a few days to collect myself. To organize my thoughts. To make sure I was doing this from a place of clarity, not anger. My fiancée helped me draft the message. She was a teacher, after all. She knew how to make a point clearly. I created a group text with my parents, my brother, and my sister. Then I sent it. I've thought a lot about how to respond to everyone's requests, and I've decided to put everything in writing so there's no confusion. Over the past 15 years, here's what I've given this family. Parents, house mortgage payoff, $80,000. Mom's car, $22,000. Dad's medical bills, $8,500. Various emergencies, approximately $12,000. Total, $122,500. Brother, college tuition, books, living expenses, $60,000. AC repair, $4,200. Various loans never repaid, approximately $6,000. Total, $70,200. Sister, wedding, $25,000. Kids Disney trip, $4,500. Other gifts and loans, approximately $5,000. Total, $34,500. Grand total, $227,200. In March of last year, I lost my job. By September, I was about to lose my apartment. I asked each of you for a $5,000 loan to stay afloat while I job hunted. Here are your responses. Mom and Dad, we're on a fixed income. We just can't afford it. Screenshot attached. Brother, I have my own family to think about. Screenshot attached. Sister, we're still paying off the wedding. Screenshot attached. None of you helped. None of you even followed up to see if I was okay. For 9 months, I didn't hear from any of you while I struggled to survive. My girlfriend, now my fiancée, paid my rent for 3 months. Her family offered to help too. People who'd known me for 8 months did what my own family wouldn't. You all told me that family helps family. I'm just following your example now. I'm not angry anymore. But I'm done being the family bank. I've given over $200,000 and gotten nothing in return. Not even basic concern for my well-being. I love you all. But I won't be helping financially anymore. Please don't ask again. The responses came fast. My mother called me sobbing. How could I be so cruel? How could I throw numbers in their faces like that? Didn't I know how much they loved me? I know exactly how much you love me, Mom, I said quietly. You showed me last year. My brother sent me a text calling me selfish, bitter, and petty. He said he was disgusted by who I'd become. He said our father would be ashamed of me. I sent back one word, okay. My sister's response was maybe the most predictable. You've changed, she wrote. Money has made you into someone I don't recognize. The brother I grew up with would never do this. I thought about that for a long time. She was right, I had changed. But not because of money. I changed because I finally saw clearly what I'd refused to see for 15 years. I was never family to them. I was a resource. A backup plan. A safety net that existed to catch them while they never bothered to ask what would catch me. My fiancée's father caught me. Her mother caught me. Her brother offered to catch me. And when I thanked them, they looked confused and said, of course. Your family. That's what family means. Showing up when it matters. Not just taking, but giving. Not just calling when you need something, but calling to see if someone else needs something. My blood family never learned that lesson. And I finally stopped waiting for them to. Where things stand now. It's been 3 months since I sent that message. My mother still calls occasionally, but we haven't talked about money since. The conversations are awkward and short. She's still hoping I'll come around, I think. She still doesn't understand why I'm being so difficult. My brother hasn't spoken to me at all. His wife sent me a bitter email about how families should stick together and how I was going to regret my selfishness when my parents were gone. I didn't respond. My sister messages sometimes, mostly about family events. Christmas, birthdays, stuff like that. The tone is cool, distant, wounded. She still thinks I'm the villain in this story. Maybe I am, to them. Maybe I'll always be the one who broke the unspoken agreement, that I would give and they would take, forever, no questions asked. But here's what I know now that I didn't know before. Family is about more than blood. It's about showing up. It's about being there when someone is struggling, not just when you need something from them. It's about reciprocity and care and basic human decency. My fiancé's family showed up. My family didn't. Last weekend, we had dinner at her parents' house. Her dad and I grilled steaks while her mom and my fiancé talked wedding plans inside. Her brother brought his girlfriend, and we all laughed about nothing important around a table full of food. At one point, her father put his hand on my shoulder. "You're a good man," he said. "I'm glad you're joining our family." I thought about my own father, who never said anything like that to me, who shook my hand when I gave him $80,000 and never thought to ask how I was doing last September. I thought about the family I'd built for myself. The fiancé who covered my rent without being asked to. The parents-in-law who treated me like a son from day one. The brother-in-law who offered me his couch if I ever needed a place to crash. I thought about the family I'd been born into. The people who took everything I gave and couldn't spare a thought for me when I had nothing left. And I realized something that might be the most important lesson I've ever learned. You can't force people to love you the way you deserve to be loved. You can only stop accepting less than you're worth. Final thought. A few people have asked if I feel guilty. If I wake up at night wondering if I made the right choice. If I regret sending that message. I don't. 15 years I was the family ATM. Over $200,000 I gave them. And when I needed $5,000 to not be homeless, they all said no. They didn't even check on me. Not one phone call asking if I was okay. I could have been on the street and they wouldn't have known. Or cared. Now they want money again. They want vacations and mortgages and private school tuition. They want the version of me that never says no, that never asks for anything in return, that exists solely to make their lives easier. That version of me is gone. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just done. They taught me what family means to them. I finally listened. And honestly, it's the most free I've ever felt. TLDR. Spent 15 years and $200,000 plus supporting my family. When I lost my job and needed $5,000, they all refused to help. My girlfriend's family, who barely knew me, saved me instead. Now I'm back on top, family wants money again, and I said no. They think I'm selfish. I think I finally learned what family actually means. Edit. Thank you all for the support. I wasn't sure about posting this, but reading your comments has helped more than you know. For those asking, yes, I'm in therapy. Yes, my fiancé is an angel. And yes, her family knows exactly how much they mean to me. I tell them every chance I get. Here's what I learned about family. Blood doesn't mean loyalty. Showing up does. 15 years I was the family ATM. Over $200,000 I gave them. Parents' mortgage, $80,000. Brother's college, $60,000. Sister's wedding, $25,000. Countless emergencies that were never emergencies. Then I lost my job. Severance ran out. Savings gone, because I'd given it all to them. I asked my parents for $5,000 to cover rent. They said, "We're on a fixed income." They live in the house I paid for. I asked my brother. He makes 6 figures now, because I paid for his degree. He said, "I have my own family to think about." I asked my sister. She said, "We're still paying off the wedding." The wedding I paid for. Not one of them helped. Not one of them even called to check if I was okay. My girlfriend's family offered me money. They'd known me for 8 months. My own parents, who I'd given $80,000 to, said they couldn't afford it. Her father pressed a check into my hand and said, "You're important to my daughter. That makes you family." I cried in his garage. Now I'm back on top. Better job than before. And guess who's calling? Brother needs mortgage help. Sister wants private school tuition. Parents want a vacation they deserve. Mom said, "Family helps family." I asked her where that energy was last year. She pretended not to understand. I didn't yell. I just sent them a list. Everything I'd given over 15 years. Screenshots of their rejections. "You told me family helps family. I'm just following your example." My mother cried. My brother called me selfish. My sister said I've changed. She's right. I have changed. I finally learned that family is about more than blood. It's about showing up when it matters. My fiancé's family showed up. My family didn't. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just done. They taught me what family means to them. I finally listened.